I haven't done a graphite drawing in a really long time. I have some earlier videos on my channel that I've done, and I have to give props for inspiration to Jessie Art because I've been watching her graphite portrait videos and they just really got me in the mood to give it another try. Give her channel a look-see when you're finished here. I'm starting out by just outlining where some of the most heavily shaded areas are going to be so that the outlines won't be as noticeable. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work the same way I envision it in my head, but I'm going to go with that for now. First, I'm outlining the areas I'm going to keep as light as possible for highlights so I don't shade over them. And I started out using the HB pencil for initial shading of the whole face, but I was worried that it was going to be too dark initially, so I switched back to the 2H pencil, which is the lightest pencil that I have. And I had to be extremely careful using this pencil to shade because the lead is so hard, it's really easy to make indents in the paper, and those you cannot erase. This is probably a bad idea, but I decided to go ahead and block in the darkest areas because I don't really know why. I just kind of wanted to. And maybe I thought it would help me get an understanding on how the other values should be. I do plan on using the charcoal pencil for the blackest areas. And just a little tip, using graphite on areas you plan on using charcoal might not be the best idea. As shown here, the charcoal will not draw over the graphite very easily, but the graphite will draw over the charcoal. I don't really know why, but it's something you should definitely be aware of when using these pencils together. I find graphite to be the most forgiving medium that I've worked with, just because as long as you're using soft and light layers, it's not hard to fix mistakes. If you press too hard on an area that you don't 100% want to be dark, it can be really hard to lighten up. If you do darken an area too much, use preferably a kneaded eraser if you have one, but any eraser will do. One of the reasons I love Moriah's videos so much is just because of how entertaining they are. I mean, I can literally watch them over and over and always enjoy them just as much as the first time I saw them. This particular pose that I've chosen to draw her in never ceases to crack me up every single time she uses it in a video.
Ah yes, that's when Jordan walked into the room. Just about every time he walks in, it scares the crap out of me. I think I've had like 5 mini heart attacks.
I'm probably ignorant of any other squishy painters out there simply because I'm always drawn back to her videos. She is the only squishy painter that I watch at the moment, so recommend some in the comments if you know any. Her videos are so unique in so many ways, but the main way to me at least is how she uses clips of herself from previous videos as memes, if you will. I'm not sure I'm explaining it right, but if you just watch a couple of her videos, you'll get what I mean.
There's a single orange sprinkle in there.
That's why I'm using this particular pose of her in this portrait. No matter how many times she uses it, it gets me every time. So I'm starting on the lips, even though I'm not at all done with the skin or the hair yet. It's just easier for me to see how a piece is coming along as I work on the thing as a whole gradually. I've seen plenty of artists who are able to complete a certain area before moving on to the next, but that doesn't really work for me. In the past, when I've tried this technique, I always end up having to go back to finished areas to tweak them to flow better with the other areas. Here's a tip. Keep a scrap piece of paper nearby to clean off your tortillon so you have clean smudging. Not an often used phrase. Of course, you can always erase the graphite before you put the charcoal over that area, but that's just extra work, and who wants that? Let's also remember that using the brush to dust off excess pencil is not, I repeat, not a good idea when using a charcoal pencil. Exhibit A. Then also remember to clean your brush before using it again to prevent unnecessary smudge. Exhibit B. Using your breath rocket is the best way to expel the dust debris with charcoal. Also, make sure you use the same tortillon tip for charcoal smudging all the time so that, yeah, you can imagine why. Something that makes it easier for me is to use the tortillon to smudge an area. I use a dark graphite pencil and then use the graphite from it to smudge plain white areas around it to avoid doing more shading with the pencil, I guess. Sorry for the lighting change. I started drawing this at night and I was using my studio lights, and with my new desk arrangement I'm against a window, so I have the advantage of using natural daylight during the day, which I'd never had before. And it does kind of cast a bluish tint over the drawing, but I worked on this over a period of a few days and nights, so just hang in there. I'm not sure of the exact technique that's proper for this,
as you may notice on many of my videos,
but I started to use the tortillon on some of the darker areas just to get a read of how dark they would be, and using that as a reference to how dark the responding areas would need to be. So I'm not very good at using a tortillon or even a tissue to get it as smooth of transition as I'm going for, so I'm going over it with my lightest pencil just for a smoothing layer. That's what I'm trying anyway. But I think for skin, since there are so many variations of tones in real life, having that varied tone underneath gives it a more lifelike effect. What do you think? I can understand how it seems like an odd thing that I'm drawing Moriah in grayscale because she is widely known for her love of rainbow colors, but don't worry, plenty of colors are in the near future. I'll make the first marks on the darkest area and then smudge it outwards to try to get a natural fade, and then go back in and deepen the shadows as needed. Something I know I need to work on are my values, especially darkening the darks. It can be scary to put down a super dark color, but realistically, it's only going to make the drawing look more realistic by adding that dimension. The lighting in the video really blows out the image, and so that gave me a little bit more motivation to go even darker than I had originally intended, so that you guys could actually see the drawing better on video, and I think it ended up looking better than it would have originally. Charcoal is really hard to erase, and it's just a mess when you use the same tip of a tortillon to smudge graphite that you've already smudged charcoal with. It's basically a disaster. The tortillon does help buff out the white spots in the areas you've used charcoal, but it also makes it considerably lighter, so keep that in mind for areas that you want to be completely black. If you're going for a lighter grayish tone, it could work out, but if you're going for absolute black, you'll most likely need another layer of charcoal. Again, this is all related to my own experience, so please don't take anything I'm saying as an absolute rule. With the hair, I wanted it as black as possible, but since I'm using a textured watercolor paper, the charcoal pencil leaves a lot of white spaces. On the first layer, I used a tissue to blend it out since it was such a large area, but it lightened it significantly. So on the second layer, I used the tortillon tip that I blended other charcoal areas with and didn't clean it off, so it wouldn't remove as much pigment, if that makes any sense at all. Originally, I loved this photo of Moriah as a scared face, and I didn't intend on this happening, but since I changed the angle slightly, it looks more like she's angry, but I think it actually really works with the way the rest of the drawing looks. Excuse you? Thank you. Starting on the bottom of this drawing, my idea was to include some of my favorite squishy designs that Moriah has created, and these include, in no particular order, Pickle the Dinosaur, PB&J Hamsters, Hot Cocoa Bear, George the Pineapple Duck, Fat Pig,
don't call him fat,
in a bunny costume, the baby bear thing, and then I also included Opie. At first, I thought I wanted to create a portrait of Moriah with her creations surrounding her and just, looking super sweet, but just seconds after deciding on this particular pose and deciding to draw her in grayscale, I thought it would be funny to have it look like she's screaming out a rainbow river and her creations are running away in fear, trying not to get caught up in the rainbow tidal wave. Is that funny? Oh, and Opie is just looking unimpressed, as always. Plus, since rainbow is pretty much her favorite thing, I was really happy to have found a way to incorporate it into this drawing. Plus, it was fun to mix different medias together in one art piece. And I really do like how it looks. My inspiration for the way I constructed the top half was actually a super cool artist here on YouTube called Art Vibes. They do really cool doodle art, and I highly encourage you to check out their channel, and they also post on Instagram. I really wanted to fill the space with something and thought a flat color would just be too boring. And if you know anything about Moriah, she is anything but boring.
It kind of reminds me of like candy or a carnival or a clown.
So I had to do something to do her justice. I thought a doodle-like collage of a bunch of her favorite things would do just fine. I had envisioned the ends of the colors of the rainbow kind of foaming up like at the end of a waterfall or a raging river, but I kind of end up regretting doing it because it was just bad execution on my part. It does not look good. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry it took so long to get a video out. I'm going to try to get back to regular uploads once a week, so I hope I'll see you around. Alright, bye guys!